Match 18, Gigan Millennium vs. King Ghidorah Heisei by Christian Salibert. The citizens of Tokyo, Japan screamed in terror as the Golden Dragon, King Ghidorah, rained destruction down upon their helpless city. The creature's golden gravity bolt shredded buildings by the dozen, and fires ravaged the city. The Japanese self-defense forces had already tried to slay the beast to no avail, and were cruelly mowed down by the creature. Miles and miles away, the Futurians sat within their mothership. Their leaders, Wilson and Wilson Grenchico, that's a funny way of spelling it, watched with... Yeah, it's like Grenchico. That spelling was always weird to me, but...
It must be an American, too. That's the weird thing.
Yeah, I know. Watched with sadistic glee as their creations destroyed Japan's capital. But that wasn't part of their plan. Anyway, everything was going according to plan. Oh. They grinned as the carnage unfurled on the view screen. Soon, King Ghidorah will destroy those fools, and then we will show them how to rebuild a country, Wilson cackled.
We will make Japan great again.
But what about Godzilla? Grenchico asked. A newly reborn monster was on its way, and they both knew it. Let it come, Wilson said.
My.
When it arrives, King Ghidorah will crush it. Suddenly, the screen flickered. The image of King Ghidorah laying waste to Japan was replaced by the image of a young man, seemingly Japanese, looking back at them. He was clad in nothing but black leather and had a cocky smile on his face. Pass. MM, do you want to take over?
Sure. Hello there, future... Wait. Where were we?
Hello there, future people.
Oh, okay. Hello there, future people, he said, simply removing a black visor that hid his eyes. You are to recall your monster and report back to me. You are now our cattle. What? Wilson stammered. Cattle? How dare you make demands of us? Especially when we control the most powerful creature in existence, Grenchico added. We can do this the hard way or the easy way, the young man said. Wilson suddenly pressed a combination on the main control console. Within seconds, he had homed in on the man's location. Then, pressing a button, he laughed. And now you are doomed. Just missing some evil laughter. The young man chuckled. So you think your King Ghidorah is going to save you? A smug grin crossed his face. Well, let's see how it does against the Gigan. In Tokyo, King Ghidorah had just received its new orders. Cackling maniacally, it began to fly towards the coordinates given. Before it could get very far, however, something smashed into it from above. King Ghidorah fell from the sky, but fortunately managed to avoid an ugly crash. Landing perfectly on its feet, turning its three heads skyward, it immediately spotted its attacker. The cyborg known as Gigan landed with a thunderous noise. Shaking the surrounding area, rearing his bird-like head back, he let out with an electronic shriek. It was unmistakably a challenge.
I thought it was backside. Back in the Futurian mothership, Wilson barked out a new command. Kill it, King Ghidorah. Kill it. Do it.
Do it.
Instantly, King Ghidorah opened fire with a trail of gravity bolts. The golden beams struck Gigan one by one, throwing sparks and knocking the creature back. In retaliation, Gigan fired a blast of his own. A crimson energy beam sprayed forth from his visor, striking King Ghidorah directly in the chest. At first, no harm seemed to be done until a series of explosions surrounded the golden dragon, causing it to cry out from pain and confusion. The beast immediately decided to restart its barrage of gravity bolts, causing explosions all around and on Gigan. Oh my. Cyborg shrieked as the blast struck his metallic hide again and again, causing greater damage with every hit. Desperately, Gigan fired another energy blast at King Ghidorah, but before it could detonate, the creature enveloped itself with its majestic wings. The beam exploded all around, but King Ghidorah was perfectly shielded from the blast. Gigan screamed in frustration, clinging its two scythe arms together. He immediately stomped towards his foe, but King Ghidorah once again opened fire with its gravity bolts. Gigan was forced back as the blast hit him from time to time. Once again, Gigan fired his beam at King Ghidorah, but the three-headed terror quickly flapped his wings and took the sky, avoiding the attack. Before Gigan could fly after his opponent, King Ghidorah began raining gravity bolts on the cyborg. Gigan shrieked angrily at King Ghidorah when one of his blasts struck him in the face, blinding Gigan momentarily. When he managed to regain his sight, the first thing he saw was King Ghidorah's feet. With a mighty flying kick, Gigan was toppled, crashing backwards into a building. As Gigan thrashed around, the remains of the building came crashing down on top of him, submerging the biomechanical creature in the rubble. Meanwhile, King Ghidorah landed facing the down cyborg. It quickly released a few short blasts from its 3 mouths, sending plumes of flame erupting from the debris. Pass.
A few moments of silence passed. Cautiously, King Ghidorah watched the rubble. No movements were made by Gigan. His arms and legs were still, and his tail didn't do so much as twitch. Another moment passed. That was enough for King Ghidorah. Raising its trio of heads, the golden beast cackled triumphantly into the sky. In the blink of an eye, Gigan raised his left arm and fired a pair of grappling hooks from the base of his scythe. The attack went unseen by King Ghidorah until they wrapped around the right and center necks, and by then it was too late to do anything. The wires wrapped around the 2 necks so tightly that they were pressed up against each other, moving as if one oversized neck. The left head reached down and tried to chew at the wires, but Gigan was on his feet in an instant and fired his energy blast, surrounding the 3 heads in bursts of red flame. King Ghidorah cried out furiously and fired a gravity bolt from his left head. Gigan was quick to counter this, however, and raised his right arm so it pointed straight into the air and then turned it. The gravity bolt struck the flat of the blade. With the flat of the blade? Yeah, and was easily deflected, striking a tall building a mile away and bringing it down in a shower of flaming rubble. Gigan then fired the grappling hooks from his right scythe, wrapping them around King Ghidorah's left leg. With his robe properly entangled, Gigan began reeling it in. Twirling his arms around, Gigan began wrapping the wires around his scythes, effectively shortening them and bringing King Ghidorah closer. Which, by the way, is the worst feature if you could think of. You'd think you would have an auto.
I agree. That was always one of my biggest nitpicks with GFW. Is like, you literally shoot grappling hooks. And it's like, okay, if you don't want to stab him through, that's fine. If they're able to wrap around, okay, fine. Why doesn't he just, doesn't he have, auto reeling or something? I don't care that you're 10,000 years old. You should have auto reeling features.
I completely agree. It's like, guys, we created this awesome cannon that can wrap the enemy, okay? How do we pull it in? Yeah, that's coming out in version 2, actually, maybe version 3. We're still on the prototype. We've got Gates on it right now. Both Gates and what's his name? Never mind. In any case, King Ghidorah shrieked angrily and fired a gravity bolt from its left head, but Gigan just ignored the blast and chirped with evil glee. The gold dragon struggled, but couldn't break free of its bonds. Suddenly, a whirring sound filled the air. Gigan had activated his buzzsaw. King Ghidorah panicked as it realized it was being pulled towards the spinning blades. The 3-headed monster screamed in defiance, but Gigan merely let out an electronic shriek and shortened the gap between the 2 kaiju once again. Panicking, King Ghidorah did the first thing it thought of, using its wings and shields once again. Unfortunately, this had quite the opposite effect the dragon desired. The instant its wings came in contact with Gigan's buzzsaw, they were shredded. King Ghidorah cackled in pain as it pulled its wings away, a sight which caused Gigan to unleash a frightening laughter-like sound. Furious that its foe dared laugh at it, King Ghidorah unleashed a gravity bolt from its left head, striking Gigan at the base of his right scythe. The lightning-like blast burned through the grappling wires, and they immediately snapped off, freeing King Ghidorah's leg. Stopping to laugh had been a mistake for Gigan, but King Ghidorah had just made a much deadlier one. Pass.
With a mighty tug, Gigan pulled on the wire entangling King Ghidorah's 2 necks. The 3-headed terror stumbled forward, and Gigan effortlessly swung his scythe upwards. King Ghidorah's left neck hit the ground with a sickening thud. The creature's right and central heads cried out in agony as golden blood sprayed out from the open wound. Now the two-headed monster began firing gravity bolts wildly, trying desperately to strike Gigan and break the bonds tying them together. But now he had spilled King Ghidorah's blood. Gigan was not about to stop. With a powerful shove, Gigan pierced King Ghidorah's chest with his scythe. The giant blade sliced all the way through the golden beast's heart and burst out of its back. Gold blood gushed from both sides, staining Gigan's scythe. Within seconds, King Ghidorah's cries had stopped. Soon after, so had it struggling. The 2 necks that were previously trying to untangle themselves were now hanging lifelessly. Gigan slid his scythe out of King Ghidorah's dead form, allowing it to crash to the ground. Clanking its blood-stained scythes together, Gigan reared his head back and let loose an unmistakable cry of victory. His foe was slain. His mission was complete. Sparks erupted from Gigan as the ray struck his back. A blue beam sent Gigan toppling to his face, causing him to squawk out in surprise. The cyborg quickly returned to his feet to see who had attacked it. A large dinosaur-like creature was approaching. The beast was charcoal gray in color and had ivory fins on its back. A powerful tail swished behind it. The reptile bellowed a challenge. "Oh, so there's another one," the young man, the Exilian controller, muttered with interest. "Gigan, attack. Winner, Gigan."
Oh.
Was there a sequel to this one?
Yes, actually, yeah, there is.
Yep.
Like, this is one of those few matches that got itself a sequel. Like, it's not going to be for a long time, but it definitely got a sequel with, like, Mecha King Ghidorah traveling back to that point in time and fighting fighting Gigan and Godzilla. So,
Pretty sure Godzilla still won that one, didn't he?
spoilers.
we had to wait 100 years to get it.
Yeah. Yeah, talk about a delayed sequel, but hey, not all sequels need to come immediately, so.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's always nice when you get a reference or a little sequel here and there.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if it's still done by Christian, but no, otherwise, this was a pretty good match. This was like one of the first like matches where you had like a monster inserted into the movie just out of nowhere.
Mhm.
Like kind of like Gamora in Godzilla vs. Destroyer, or I don't even know. Like I think that's the first one that comes to my mind.
And I also find it interesting that even though this is the Millennium Gigan and the Heisei Ghidorah, I can't help but think that the idea probably came from the idea of what would have been two allies in the movies fighting each other, you know?
Well, King Ghidorah and Gigan are known, or like usually people have them together, or like they try to have. But this was a good instance of like, yeah, who would win if the two actually had to come to blows?
Oh, right. And the fact that Gigan won, I think, was a rather interesting choice. So, of course, granted, this also started
I think
a whole.
That actually still. I think that if I remember right,
The great downfall of King Ghidorah, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think that match was also posted sometime, and it had. I think it was like 2005 or 2006 when that match was posted. If you notice, there's quite a bit of Gigan matches around the same time frame. You had Gigan Millennium versus Ghidorah, then you had him against King Ghidorah. I know he pops up here in a couple matches later. That was at the time frame, like, for some reason people all thought Gigan Final Wars was some super heavyweight powerhouse.
Well, it's basically the cool. Essentially, people like to write what they think is cool, and out of the Godzilla Final Wars, Gigan did have, I would say, one of the best redesigns.
Gigan did have a very, like, I mean, say what you will about the movie, but Gigan did have, I don't know, Gigan was one of those few monsters that did have a certain presence with him, and the way he looked, you know, he looks fantastic in my opinion. Yeah,
Gigan looks amazing and everything. He does. I'm just referencing the mindset from back in that time was pretty much anything Final Wars was stupid strong. Like,
right.
Godzilla was like a Dragon Ball Z character, and everybody else could just slaughter.
Right. Yeah, I hear you. I mean, yeah. Well, even with that mentality, I think this match actually does a solid job. You know, having the two fight without coming off as overly one-sided.
Yeah.
Right.
It was a good match. Like I honestly don't remember a lot of these older matches. I remember reading them when they first came out. It's been so long.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't remember a thing about the Ghidorah match at all. But yeah.
The major thing for this one, at least, again, the other note is like it was very, very cool to see just like the Futurians and the Exilians just come on like. Just like usually everyone's like, oh yeah, they're all together, they're all for one. It's like, or they could just hate each other, like they all have their own different motives and stuff, and just like, yeah, we're just gonna F over your plans. It's our turn now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm surprised we don't see the Futurians come to be more often.
Yeah, I know. I hope. I hope they're more Futurian stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, time travel's confusing, but if Toho, if Toho's not going to be overly strict about how time travel works, then, I mean, neither should you, technically, but...
Oh, also, the sequel to that story, that fight, the Gigan versus Godzilla versus Mecha King Ghidorah, that was also written by Christian.
Yep. So it's like a true legitimate sequel.
Really?
So yeah, a true legitimate sequel, yeah.
Hey, well, I mean, you don't say that. I mean, people are great matches for other people all the time. I mean, Godzilla versus Ghidorah had the sequel that was done by someone else. I know that one.
Right. Or Gorosaurus versus Varan, which was actually a sequel to Monster X versus Gorosaurus. So
yeah.
What, really?
Yeah. Someone wrote a sequel
that.
for your match. So.
Oh. I actually gotta read that then.
It was actually pretty good. It's stuck with the same kind of style.
Mm-hmm. And plus, great banner by Jackson. But again, that's that'll be for another day. So that was okay. Before I do the outro, GVJ, do you have anything to say?
I thought it was fun. It was nice seeing two kaiju that you usually see together fight each other. That's a unique twist on things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's it. So, awesome read. And as always, remember to always have your pets spayed or neutered. Thank you, everyone, and have a good day.
Yes, that was Gigan versus King Ghidorah, and we will see you guys next time for match 19. Until then...